All right, so let's get right into it. The date is December 14th, 2025, and for Liverpool Football Club, this moment feels pivotal. For weeks, it felt like the entire season was just hanging by a thread. Now, sure, the results have gotten a little better lately, but the really big long-term questions, they're just now starting to bubble to the surface. So what we're seeing isn't the end of a crisis. No, it's the beginning of a whole new chapter.
And this slide really sums it up perfectly. The club is basically on a knife edge. On one side, you've got all this tension, the public spats, serious questions about the leadership, and this huge dark cloud hanging over the future of their modern-day icon, Mohamed Salah. But then, on the other side, there's been this quiet resilience, right? A couple of massive performances when they absolutely needed them, and this feeling that maybe, just maybe, the team is finding its footing under the new manager.
So, the big question is, how did Liverpool flip the script from total chaos to relative calm so fast? Well, it really all comes down to a single result. That recent 2-0 win against Brighton, it was way more than just 3 points. It was like hitting a giant reset button on the entire club's narrative. It was the moment that steadied the ship. Let's dig into how one game really did change everything.
The game was pretty much over before it even got going. When Hugo Ekitike scored after just 47 seconds, you could feel the entire atmosphere at Anfield just change. And as you can see here, it wasn't just the goal. There was a clear tactical shift away from that nervy, hesitant play we'd seen for weeks. They were sharper, they were way more direct, and defensively they were so much more compact. It looked like a team with a real plan, not just one waiting for a bit of magic.
But the real drama, the moment that tells the bigger story, happened on the sidelines. When Mohamed Salah came on as a sub, after being dropped and publicly criticizing the club, the air was thick with tension. You could feel it. There were no boos, no big drama, just this cautious but genuine applause. It felt like everyone, the fans, the club, the players, was just holding their breath. And then, with just one corner kick, the whole story shifted again. Salah's assist didn't just wrap up the win, it broke a Premier League record. Think about that. In the very same week, his commitment and his legacy were being questioned from all sides. He goes out there and quietly rewrites the history books. It was such a powerful, almost ironic reminder of just how good he is.
And this is really the key takeaway here. What we saw in that pitch, it wasn't some big, happy reconciliation. It wasn't everyone hugging it out and putting it all behind them. Not at all. It was a ceasefire, a temporary truce in what feels like a much, much longer and more complicated saga.
Which brings us to the biggest story at Liverpool, period. This fragile peace with Mo Salah. Even after a huge win, his situation is what everyone is still talking about. So let's try and deconstruct it. Where do things really, actually stand today?
It's crazy to think that just a week ago, the story was absolutely explosive. You had Salah publicly criticizing the club's decisions, then he gets dropped from the squad completely, the transfer rumors were going wild, and people were openly questioning the manager's authority. It was a genuine crisis.
Now, fast forward to today, he's back in the squad, he's directly involved in a game-winning goal, and you have his teammates coming out and publicly supporting him. The speed of that turnaround is kind of shocking, but it definitely doesn't mean all the underlying problems have just vanished.
Sometimes it's the small things that tell you the most. And this quote from the captain, Virgil van Dijk, it's so revealing. See, when he was asked about Salah's future, he didn't come out and say Mo will stay. He said he hopes Mo will stay. Hopes. That one little word, it tells you everything, doesn't it? It just lays bare all the uncertainty that's still swirling around Salah's future at the club. And all of this really points to a major shift in strategy from the club. Right now, they're managing Salah. They're not building the entire team around him anymore. Don't get me wrong, he's still vital, he's still their most dangerous forward, but he's no longer that single, untouchable centerpiece. And for a club like Liverpool, that is a huge, huge change.
This whole situation has also, without a doubt, been the biggest test of Arne Slot's time as manager so far. And when you look back at how he handled it, it really seems like he used this crisis to firmly and very publicly stamp his own authority on this team.
Let's just break down his moves, because this wasn't an emotional, snap decision. It was a really calculated, three-step process. First, he asserted his authority. Salah challenged him, so he dropped him. Simple as that. Second, he proved his system works, winning a massive game without his star player. And third, he controlled Salah's return to the team, bringing him back, but pointedly, on his own terms.
The message he sent to that locker room, and frankly to the entire football world, was crystal clear. At Liverpool Football Club, under Arne Slot, it's the manager who sets the terms, not the player. The power dynamic has officially been reset.
So with the manager's authority now on solid ground, we're starting to see the knock-on effects elsewhere. Because away from all the headlines and the drama up front, something else really important has been happening. Liverpool's defense, their entire defensive structure, has been quietly getting a whole lot better.
And the foundation for that new solidity? It's the partnership right in the middle. You've got Virgil van Dijk looking like his old commanding self again, just controlling everything in the air. And right next to him, Ibrahima Konate has been an absolute monster, dominating those physical battles and snuffing out counterattacks. This isn't a fluke. It's a system clicking into place. And the result? 2 clean sheets in a row. A really welcome sight this season that shows the team is finding its balance again.
But there's always a but, isn't there? This newfound stability is fragile. The injury to Joe Gomez in that Brighton game is a massive reminder of just how thin this squad actually is, especially with the brutal schedule they've got coming up. One more key injury, and all this progress could unravel pretty fast.
So everything we've talked about, the ceasefire with Salah, the manager's authority, the defensive improvements, it's all setting the stage for the next critical phase for this club. A phase that's going to be defined by the African Cup of Nations, the January transfer window, and that looming reality of a future without Salah.
The numbers here really lay out the challenge ahead. I mean, it's huge. When Salah leaves for AFCON in a few weeks, Liverpool lose 3 massive things, all in one player. They lose their most productive attacker, their main penalty taker, and their most experienced forward for the big games. That is a gigantic hole to fill.
And this brings us right to the uncomfortable truth at the heart of this whole thing. Whether it happens in January, or next summer, or even later, Liverpool are already preparing for a future where Mohamed Salah is no longer the centerpiece of this team. All the recent drama just put that process into overdrive.
Look, this isn't about disrespecting a club legend. Salah's legacy is secure, it's set in stone, his influence has been unbelievable. But the club is making a very clear, very strategic choice here. They are choosing evolution over sentiment. And honestly, this is a pattern you see across all of elite football. In today's game, clubs just can't afford to be held hostage by the legacies of even their greatest ever players. It's a pragmatic, and yeah, sometimes it's a brutal decision, but it's one that's designed for long-term success.
So, the most important thing to understand is this. The last few weeks haven't really been about an ending at Liverpool. They've been about a beginning. The evolution of this football club, the next version of this team, well, it's already started happening right in front of our eyes.
Which leaves us with the one massive question. What's the right move from here? Should Liverpool just rip the Band-Aid off and accelerate this transition, fully rebuilding now for a post-Salah future? Or should they fight to keep their greatest modern player at the heart of everything for as long as they possibly can? It's the debate that is going to define the next era at Anfield.